Welcome back to another League 2 roundup. Thank you so much for the support recently on the channel. You guys seem to have been enjoying the videos, and that's why we've got 5 videos in 5 days this week. I can't promise I'm going to have that kind of consistency over the next few months, but I am aiming to bring you regular content, League 2 and other EFL and National League content as well. Do let me know below what kind of videos you guys want to see. But we're here for the League 2 roundup, and this is where we discuss all the games from the previous round of fixtures. And this is a kind of a midweek roundup. Obviously, we've got another round of games tomorrow now. So it's kind of a review with a mini preview, I guess, as well. But we're talking about the New Year's Day games happened 2 days ago, and of course, the games that happened last night. Enough introduction. Let's get straight into the action. And we did start on the 1st of Jan, and we had Accrington against Grimsby. And it's becoming a little bit of a, I don't want to say running joke, but will Grimsby ever draw a game? I mean, it just never seems like they're going to draw a game of football. They lost to Accrington 3-2. They were winning this game. They're winning it. And then they were pegged back. Then they led again. They led twice in the game. But Accrington, huge win for them. They're up to 20th now. I said in the transfer video that they've not been scoring a lot of goals recently, and all of a sudden they go and score 3. That's kind of how unpredictable League 2 can be. But yeah, really impressive result for Accrington. A brace from Ben Woods, young 22-year-old there. Obviously an impressive performance from him. And yeah, Sean Whalley, of course, getting on the score sheet yet again. He not disappointing at all this season. 4 goals, 4 assists, 37. The guy he's brilliant. You know, what a career he's had, and he's still making a real impact for Accrington. So disappointing for Grimsby. They were in the playoffs, obviously dropped out of them now. Negative goal difference again. Grimsby, I just can't believe they are where they are in the league. I mean, only Walsall have won more games than them. But, you know, in terms of games lost, you've got to look at Gillingham and then down to Newport. And, you know, Accrington have actually lost fewer games than Grimsby this season. So it just goes to show you where they are at the minute. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. Grimsby is such a tough one with Grimsby. But I don't know where they're going to finish this season. I can't see them finishing that in where they are at the minute, 8th. I just don't see it myself. Moving on to Barrow. I mean, talk about League 2 being inconsistent. I mean, one week you've got loads of 1-1 draws and 1-0 scorelines. This week you've got a lot of goals, and Barrow drew 2-2 with Bradford. Bradford coming back to get a late point there. Good to see Lamil Akra on the score sheet. Good to see Andy Dallas on the score sheet as well. Both forwards that I'm a fan of. Barrow have signed Carl Cameron. As you can see, they kind of use a bit of a back three. They've used a back four mainly all season. I think maybe they'll use a back three moving forwards though. Feely did come off injured, but they've got Canavan to come back. I'd imagine that Jackson will move into where Tiencia is, and then Carl Cameron will move into that left centre-back position where he's been playing, obviously played for Notts County and St Johnstone this season. It's a good result for Barrow, really, considering where they are in the league, obviously down in 15th. Obviously not great to lose, drop points from a losing position, but Bradford are in touching distance of the playoffs. So I think that's a pretty decent result for them. Andy Cook came off after 6 minutes. There are rumours that it is a knee injury. Well, it is a knee injury. There are rumours it's a severe one. We'll have to wait and see on that. I hope for his sake and for Bradford's sake it's not, because they were already reliant on him for goals. If he is injured, especially at the age of 34, it could be catastrophic for their season and also Andy Cook's career. So I really hope that he is okay. Another game which had a decent amount of goals in, Chesterfield hosted MK Dons and lost 2-1. The talking points on this, I mean, a great result for MK Dons, finally bouncing back. If we just look at their results of late, of course, that little run of 3 games and then a draw against Crewe. Obviously, Chesterfield wins actually bookending this poor run. So they had a poor run after, and I guess for MK Dons' sake, they'll be hoping that they go on a good run once again. They've got Salford next. That's a really tough game. If you look at the league table, MK Dons in 12th, Salford, of course, all the way up there in 4th place. They were 3rd up until last night. So it'll be interesting to see how that how that game goes. But really significant to go away and win. They took an early lead and never really looked back from that point. Chesterfield, the other talking point for them, I mean, we've kind of been saying recently, their fans aren't too bothered about the results because of the injuries they've got. They want to stay within touching distance of the playoffs, and they have. They're only 3 points off of it. With the amount of injuries that they've had this season, January will be a big, significant time for them. But if you just look at the bench, Tim Akinola's has been recalled. He bolsters the bench ever so slightly. Ryan Colclough back on the bench. Araujo, Fleck, fit now, and I mean, if he gets fit, he's going to be unbelievable for the level. James Berry back in the squad. Look at that bench; it's one of the best benches in the league, really. Yes, those players perhaps weren't fit and were just there to make up the numbers, but it is a massive step in the right direction for Chesterfield. So whilst they lost yet again, that's 3 losses on the spin, considering the injuries they've got, it looks like they're going to be out the other side. They've got Gillingham on Sunday, which should be a very winnable game, as we'll come on to when we talk about Gillingham. But yeah, a good result for MK Dons, and Chesterfield probably taking steps in the right direction as well. Another game to talk about with lots of goals. This one is really interesting and significant if you look at the times of the goals. 90 plus 3 and 90 plus 8 for Crewe. Obviously, a huge result for Crewe. Moves them back within touching distance of the top 3. They're only a point off of it. They've only conceded 21 goals this season, so for Carlisle to score 2 past them is impressive. And Crewe haven't scored many themselves, so to dig deep and get those 2 late goals was really impressive. And you look at the 3 goal scorers. Chris Long, who I was saying has fallen out of favour at Crewe, back on the score sheet. He started the game. And then the 2, Matas Holacek with 2 assists, very impressive for the youngster there. But you see the 2 players that came on, Jack Lancaster and Omar Bogle, both coming on and scoring, and Jack Powell as well coming off the bench and getting an assist, so showing that Crewe have got real quality and depth, really. And yeah, impressive that the players can make that impact. For Carlisle, they're now back rooted to the bottom of the table. They have made a fair few signings already in January. They've already made a couple. Might even be more by the time this video goes out. Friday, there might be a signing today. Who knows? Embleton is the man that's come in for them, and probably the most significant signing they've made. And I think that they're getting players in that suit their style. And yeah, I'm impressed with them. Yes, they lost points there. They dropped points late on, but I think there's still signs to be positive about for Carlisle. Performances, again, looking a little bit stronger. With January coming, I think they're going to invest heavily, and I think they could really turn it round. I just hope for their sake they don't go down by a point or 2, because they're going to look at this game and think, wow, we were winning until the 93rd minute and we ended up with 0 points from that game. Yeah, that is not ideal when you're fighting for your Football League survival. How significant will this result be in their survival? Let's hope for their sake that it's not, but it is worth mentioning there that is the kind of thing that happens to sides that go down. And I just hope that that isn't a sign of things to come. But I do think that there are positives on the horizon for Carlisle. Performances at least are getting better, and with new signings, fresh blood, they may be able to drag themselves out of this trouble they're in, especially when they're only 4 points off of it. They're not a million miles away. Had they got a win there, they'd only be 1 point, and you'd be saying, wow, Carlisle could get out of this by the end of the month. I think it might take a little bit longer than that, but there are positive signs on the horizon for them. Doncaster, they beat Fleetwood, another late winner, Billy Sharp, with the stoppage time winner for Doncaster, which sends them into the top 3. Well, I think they were already in the top 3 anyway, but keeps them in that mix. It's difficult to say about Doncaster because they are a bit inconsistent, as you can see from the form. If you look at that, the last 5, 2 wins, 2 losses and a draw, very, very inconsistent. But when they do play well, they are a very good side. And I mean, they're 3rd for a reason. They are a good team and they've got quality. Billy Sharp scoring in the 92nd minute shows you the kind of player that they've got, or players that they've got. Fleetwood is defeat for Pete Wild. I think that they will take some heart from the result. Phoenix Patterson, I saw that he got a little bit of criticism online for defensively, but I think he is going to improve under Pete Wild. We've not seen a massive change in terms of system, which is kind of to be expected, and actually is a positive, I think. I think Fleetwood's season is kind of written off already. They're not really in any real danger. I know they're only 7 points above the drop, but they've got games in hand, and I think they've got too much quality to be really dragged into it. But I do think, they're 10 points off of the top 7. I think they're a long way off that level as well. I think that gap's only going to get bigger. I think it's going to take Pete Wild longer than that. It's a long-term thing for Fleetwood. It's kind of a shame to say their season. It's not over, of course, but I think they need to go on a run, either a bad run to be dragged into the relegation or a really good run to get into the playoff conversation. I don't think either is really likely to happen. One team that is in slight danger is Harrogate. Well, I say slight danger, more than that. They're just above the precipice there. They lost at home to Salford. I don't think that's a particularly unexpected result. If you look at the other end of the table, Salford are 4th and have been on an unbelievable run. Matty Young in goal, keeping yet another clean sheet. Didn't have a lot to do, obviously, but it's a sign of a very good goalkeeper. When you look at this run, he came in this Cheltenham game, and in the 8 games he's played, since coming in against Cheltenham, they've conceded 1 goal and they've won 7 out of those 8 games. It's seriously impressive. I mean, what a great run they've been on. Yes, the teams they've beaten, bar Notts County, are all near the bottom of the table, so you've got to temper it. And the team they lost to, Gillingham, we're going to speak about them very soon, but already hinted at it, they're not in a great place. But if you look at the teams they've beaten, Harrogate are 22nd, Morecambe are 23rd, Barrow are up in 15th, Accrington are 20th, and you've got Notts County, who are obviously up in the top 7, and you've got Harrogate again, who are 22nd, and then you've got Cheltenham in the FA Cup, also a bottom half team. So other than Notts County, all those teams in the bottom half, and 4 of those wins came against sides 20th or lower. So you've got to temper the expectation a little bit, but you've got to win. You've got to beat what's in front of you. They're on a really good run. They've got some tougher games coming up. MK Dons, then Man City. I mean, very, very tough games. But then you've got Fleetwood, Cheltenham, Newport, yet again. So another 3 games, you probably back them to get clean sheets in there. So I think overall that they've been really impressive. Like I say, 5 games ago, they were on 6 wins, 6 draws, 6 losses. All of a sudden, they've pushed themselves right into that promotion conversation. And Carl Robinson deserves a lot of credit for that. Harrogate, on the other hand, James Belshaw is doing his best to keep them out of trouble. I think without him, they would be in a very, very bad place this season. But yeah, they've already made an addition in January. Really impressed. They've signed Morris from Newport. They paid a fee as well. They need to do that. They need to get the checkbook out and they need to spend, because that squad, as much as I like some of the individuals in that team, and I think there's a lot of hard-working players in there, it does lack that little bit of quality that you perhaps need. And I mean, the league table doesn't lie. They're one of only 2 teams that have scored less than 20 goals this season, and they are only 2 points above the drop. So they are in trouble, and there's no shying away from that fact. Morecambe, they're a team that are down there, and talking about 2 teams in trouble, I mean, these 2 teams are very much in trouble. Morecambe not out of it, but a huge result for them. This is the kind of game you target and say, we've got to win this. If we're going to stay up this season, we've got to win it. And that's exactly what they went and did. Jan Songo, the ever reliable for Derek Adams, scoring yet again for him. So yet again, knows he's not got the best goal-scoring record in his career, but the amount of times that Derek Adams has signed this man is a player he trusts, and, well, they can see why. Stott as well, getting a goal. He's been really good for them. And, yeah, just generally a really impressive performance across the board for Morecambe. And you know that it's a cliche, Morecambe's a tough place to go, but it is, and their home form is going to be absolutely key for them this season. And I'm not saying they're going to stay up, but if they do, it'll be because of their home form. And one team that may go down at their expense is Tranmere. And for me, this is a really important thing to talk about. Alarm bells have to be ringing for Tranmere and their fans. I know that they are. Nigel Adkins comes across as a really nice bloke and has had a fantastic career, and he's really well respected. And he had a nice little run last season with them. But he got a 3-year contract, I believe. I think that was after a losing run as well, which seems a crazy length of time to give someone a contract. And this squad, I think, is capable of doing better. I do really think that. Bradshaw at left back, I really like him. O'Connor at right back. They're a pair of capable fullbacks. Okay, they lack a little bit of quality perhaps in terms of throughout the team. You know, you look at that midfield and spine, it might not have the most quality, but Amari Patrick's a good player as well. So they have got some decent pieces in there, but it's just not working for them. It's going horribly, horribly wrong. And if it continues on the trajectory that they're on, you look at the form, okay, they got a win over Harrogate, but other than that, very, very little to talk of in terms of positives. Drew the reverse fixture of Morecambe at home. Morecambe going there, getting a point is a good point. You've got to win your home games when you're those teams down the bottom against the other teams down the bottom. Yes, they beat Harrogate. That's a good result. But Barrow, they're in 15th. Could you maybe ask for more than a point? You know, it's going terribly for Tranmere. And relegation is a real possibility this season. And I don't think the alarm bells are ringing enough for the decision makers there, because the Tranmere fans seem pretty confident Nigel Adkins is going to be in the job no matter what. I just wanted to highlight as well, they've got Carlisle next, bottom of the table. That is a must win, like a must win if you want to stay up this season, because look at the next two games, first and second away. Like, if they don't get anything against Carlisle, they're going to have 0 points by the time they play Gillingham towards the end of January. So it's not looking good for Tranmere, in my opinion. But we move on to Notts against Walsall. I'm not going to go too much into detail with this one, because there is a whole video on the channel which you guys can go and check out, where I analysed this game and what happened. But in brief, Notts dominated the first half. Walsall dominated the second half. They made changes at half-time. They made adjustments. They pressed more aggressively. Jamil Mack came on. He scored the equaliser. Nathan Lowe scored the winner. Walsall roll on. Notts showed a lot of good quality in the first half and show that they can compete. I think they are a playoff team. I think we are. We've got the quality. That's a pretty strong 11. Jody Jones came back, so there are players yet to come back. And I think Notts, we may even add some players in January. But I don't think anyone's touching Walsall this season. As long as they keep this team, it's settled. Once again, very, very little changes. Evan Weir came in at left centre-back and for Taylor Allen and played extremely well. Goal line clearance, 2 assists. I mean, that's the kind of quality and depth that they've got as well as having a settled 11, which doesn't change much. So when you do make a change, it's only a small one. And a player like Evan Weir can come in and have a great performance like he did. So, yeah, Walsall, top of the league. They're now 12 points clear of second, 13 points clear of the playoff places. I don't think anyone's catching them, even if some of their players get picked off this January, which is possible because they're doing so well. Teams in higher divisions are going to be interested. I think they've got enough about them and enough of the gap already that they're already there. And they've got a fantastic manager who's so tactically astute. So, yeah, if you guys want to see the full breakdown on that game, go and watch the video on the channel. But I'm not going to spend too much time on it here. Port Vale against Cheltenham. This is like, we've had a really high, goals, and it brings us right back down to earth. Really crucial result, though, for Darren Moore and his side. As the stats suggest, they did have a lot of shots. And they had a better performance overall. And it is kind of much needed. They need a win, in all honesty. And that is a winnable game, actually. You know, if you're a Port Vale, again, if you're looking at games on paper and you're targeting, right, to go up automatically, we need to win this game. That is one of the games you say we've got to win it, because Cheltenham, with all due respect, they're bottom half side. Carlisle, bottom of the table, that's another one at home. So those home games that you're looking at there, I think you can potentially forgive the away run, because, you know, going away in this league can be difficult with such a relentless period as well. Lost at home to Walsall, you know, that happens. Notts just did that as well. But the 2 draws at home recently, pretty poor. The worry for Port Vale is kind of in that, well, on the one hand, I say it's a good result because they needed that. They need to stop the rot in terms of they lost back-to-back games. If they lost again, things start to get really ugly. But the big worry for me is you look at the goals scored, you've got to go back all the way to October for when they scored more than 1 goal in a game. And if you look at the run recently, you take out the EFL Trophy game. Well, just look at the last 5, 1 goal scored. It's not good enough. Just 27 scored. They're the lowest scorers in the playoffs at the moment. And the rate they're going at, they're going to be dropping out of those playoffs very, very quickly. Doncaster away is a tough game. And then they've got a couple of winnable home games, which they've really got to target to get something from. I think Darren Moore will need that. I do think that they're going to back him. He's on a hell of a long contract, a little bit like Nigel Adkins at Tranmere. You can't do much about these managers on really long contracts. For Cheltenham, it's a good result. I don't mean to be flippant about Cheltenham when I talk about them. They're kind of in the category where Fleetwood are, but actually I would elevate it even more, where I really do think their season is going to be one of mid-table mediocrity. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful, but I do think that they're going to be an absolutely fine, not going to be any bother in terms of relegation, that they're far too far away from it already, and they look like a decent team. But I don't think they're quite the level to go on a run. If you look at the teams above them, I think there's all those teams above them there. Are they better than any of those sides? Or are they more likely to go on a run to reach the playoffs than any of those sides? I think there's even maybe one side below them that is probably more likely to go on that kind of run. So whilst I'm impressed with what Michael Flynn is doing, and they've got a couple of good young players who I'm really enjoying seeing their development, one of them being Ethan Archer, having a really impressive season. Also Jude Boyd, I really like him as well, came off the bench. And of course, John Thomas is not in the side at the moment, but they've got some good young players. I do think this is a season of building and consolidation for Cheltenham. So I don't think they're going to go too far this season, but I think given that they've just come down, I think a season of consolidation will be good for them, and I like what they are building there. Swindon got a huge result against Colchester. When I said there's a team below them that might go on a run, that is Colchester. Their unbeaten run did come to an end. They were down to 10 men, but that was just before the final goal. So it was 2-2 for pretty much the whole game, and George Cox dispatching the penalty. As I said, Swindon have got a decent enough team on paper. I know in the transfer video I said that, and a lot of their fans aren't that happy with their squad, but they are up to 19th now. I think Holloway will get them away from danger. I think there's kind of twofold on that, is that I think their squad is good enough to be clear of danger. I think they've got some good players. Whether they performed or not this season remains to be, is to be debated, but these players have played at high levels before. And have had individually have had good seasons at other clubs. I think the other thing is that there are 5 teams in this league worse than them. I mean, there are currently, and I think those 5 teams are worse than them. I think even probably Newport fans, I think they're probably worse than them as well. So you've got 5 or 6 teams. There's too many things to go wrong, I think, for them to drop out of the league this season. It's a really good result. Colchester, they can't lose too much heart from it. I mean, they've drawn 12 games this season, so it would have been a 13th draw. Jack Payne has been a fantastic signing for them. He's a quality player at this level. I think they'll add players in January, and I know they rotated. I think they lack firepower. Lard Taylor obviously dropped out of the side, I guess for fitness reasons. He's been playing a lot recently. Still no Samson Tavide. Rumours that he might be off. So I think they do need to, if they want to push on, and I think they can go on a run this season. And I do think they can still reach the playoffs. I know that's really weird to say about a team that just lost. But their run has been impressive, to say the least. They've been looking a lot harder to beat, and it's important that they sort of regain that momentum now. They've got some very nice fixtures coming up until they play Port Vale, and to be honest with you, given the form that Port Vale's in, you're actually looking up until Walsall, really, maybe bar the Bromley game, where you'd probably favour Colchester in most of those games. So they've got opportunities to bounce back. If they add a couple of forwards in January, I think they can get right back on the run they were on, and I'm still hopeful for them that they can push up the table. And then we get into last night's games, just the 2 of them, hence why I delayed putting this one out. I thought we will talk about the 2 games, and I'm kind of glad we did, because first of all, we've got Gillingham and Bromley. Let's talk about Bromley first. Let's be positive, and then let's get on to the negatives. Bromley, so impressive. The conversation about the National League teams, how good are they? 3 up, 3 down. Should that happen? It has to rumble on even more so now, because the last 6 teams promoted from the National League, the lowest of them is Bromley, and they're 11th in League 2. Then you've got Chesterfield, Notts, and Grimsby. They're all there, 11th to 7th, so very strong. And then you've got 2 teams who got promoted. They're actually in League 1 now, and towards the top end of League 1 as well. So you've got, a Bromley side who have not adjusted the way they play. They have changed their shape this season, and that's been impressive as well, that Andy Woodman has adapted. But Bromley are bottom of the league for possession. They were bottom of the league last year for possession, or they were second bottom. It was them and Maidenhead, and neck and neck. I can't recall who ended up having the least, but around 40%. Around 40% this season. Last night they had 31%. They're ruthless, they're energetic, they're hard to play against, they're so efficient with the ball, they move it forwards quickly. Andy Woodman says he likes to play exciting football, and you can kind of see that in his side where every time they get the ball, they look to attack. Jude Arthur's getting yet another goal, really impressed with him this season. And impressed that this side is the team they had in the National League. Other than this man, Danny Imre was a special talent, by the way. I'd imagine he'll probably get recalled by Crystal Palace. He's been brilliant. But pretty much this whole team is the team they had in the National League. Shrumney was bought back from Sutton, but he was with them in the National League as well. So impressed with the way they've adapted to League Two. And Andy Woodman deserves more credit. And yeah, really, really, really impressed. Gillingham, opposite thoughts, really. Really not impressed. Every season, Gillingham, you go, oh yeah, they'll be up there. They'll be in my top 7. A lot of people have them automatic. I think I might have had them automatics. Because you look at the players they sign. Every season they sign good players. They seem to end the previous season in a good vein of form. Or they add a manager who you get behind and think, yeah, he's going to be a good manager. And like I say, they spend money on this. They bring in good players. Every season, they do that. Then they start the season by winning 1-0 every other game. Or, winning a lot of games 1-0. And you start to think, how sustainable is this? But they're winning. They're winning games. You can't take that away from them. Yes, it's 1-0 every single game, but they're winning. And that's the most important thing. And then the underlying numbers catch up to them. And the wheels start to fall off. And they drop down around this point of the season every season. And then they'll probably make a change of manager. A new manager will come in, they'll buy a couple more players. They'll have a decent end to the season. And everyone next summer, we're all going to be going, yeah, Gillingham, they're going to go up this season. And the same thing will happen. And how often are we going to get caught in this cycle? And how long does it take before you say, is it Mark Bonner's fault? Was it Stephen Clemence's fault? Was it Neil Harris's fault? Or is there something deeper rooted? And for me, they feel a little bit like, it sounds like a weird comparison, but a little bit like a Man United of League Two, where they are just feel a little bit cursed. I know that's not very analytical of me to say that they're cursed, but I do think that there needs to be a reshuffle, clear out the decks of a lot of players and restart basically from afresh, because this season is pretty much over for them, I think. I can't see them going down. I know they're not in very good form whatsoever. 3 losses on the spin, but they've got enough about them. They beat Salford and MK Dons 1-0. As I spoke about, 1-0 wins. They can only win 1-0. But they're 2 good teams. They're 12th and 4th. 2 teams you probably expect to be in and around the playoffs come the end of the season. So they have got enough about them to do that. It wouldn't surprise you if they went and beat Chesterfield 1-0. I think Chesterfield will win, but it wouldn't shock you if that happened. But they're definitely not going on a run to the playoffs. I would say it would be a surprise if they did. So yeah, Gillingham, a lot to think about over the summer for them. Finally, Newport against AFC Wimbledon. Wimbledon back up to 2nd place. It's that defensive structure once again. If you look at the top 5, the outlier is Doncaster with 28 conceded. The other 4 teams in that top 5 have conceded the fewest goals in this league. And when you don't concede, you get points, and that's the most important thing in League Two. It's not goals scored. Notts County showed that last season. Scored the second most goals, and we're nowhere near it. And it's if you look at the league table, it's all about not conceding and having a good structure. And Wimbledon do that. They're hard to beat. They do the basics well, and they've got some good players at the top end of the pitch who can make an impact. Romain Sawyers has played at a much higher level. He got a goal. He came off the bench, and it's great to see Josh Kelly get a goal and an assist. Really like Josh Kelly. Spoken about him a lot before on the channel. Fantastic player. Glad to see him come into his own. Wimbledon getting more game time and performing really well. They've got a settled team. They're like Walsall. They've got a settled side. They know what they're doing. And whilst I do think, they could have a little bit more energy in midfield. In that video where I picked transfers, I really struggled for Wimbledon because they're on the right track. Like, they don't need to do much different. In terms of underlying numbers and stats, they're not a million miles away from Walsall, other than the key one, which is points. They are 12 points behind them. But Wimbledon will be right up there come the end of the season. Hence why they were the first tactical breakdown on this channel, because they are so hard to beat, and that is the most important thing in this league. Newport, not that hard to beat, I'll be honest with you. Carl Hudden's loan was extended. I think that's good news. He's a useful player for them. He's an asset for them. Offensive set pieces and defensive set pieces. Hasn't got loads of pace. Probably needs to get more pace in and around him. Kieran Evans I like in midfield. You look at that side though, that is not a quality team in my opinion. And they've lost Bryn Morris as well, sold him to a direct relegation rival in Harrogate. Yes, they're 6 points above the drop. Could they be dragged back into it? Yes, absolutely they could. I said then the most important thing in this league is not conceding goals. Well, no team has conceded more than Newport. They score a decent amount, but they concede loads. And I think that is a big, big issue for them. I do worry about them. I think I had them to go down or be right down there at the start of the season. I think they will finish there. They had a good start, but they're starting to be dragged back down to their level. And I'm not 100% sold on them, if I'm perfectly honest. But I do hope that they can turn it around. But they're not the best side in this league by any stretch of the imagination. And that brings us to an end of another League Two roundup. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Thank you for the support on the channel. I know I mentioned that at the start of the video, but thank you so much, guys. We're almost at 800 subscribers, which is a crazy figure to say. So I'm so thankful for that. If you could like the video, if you enjoyed it, it does massively help. It gets it onto more people's pages and so they can see the channel and they can watch the videos. If you could subscribe, like I say, nearly 800, that would be massively, massively appreciated. If you're enjoying the League Two roundups, do let me know below as well. I'm enjoying doing them. You guys seem to enjoy watching them, so I will keep up with these. And I just want to say thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.